Hi, it's Dr. Nani. So I'm just following on from the infertility video, which was my last one. One of the causes of infertility is a sexually transmitted infection. So these are known by the acronym STI if you're in North America or Canada, or STD, which means sexually transmitted disease, and that's the UK. It's how we say it in the UK. So I happen to be a diplomate of the Faculty of Sexual and Reproductive Health from the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists in the UK. And so this is well within my reprieve to talk about this because I worked in sexual health. I have the qualifications and I have the experience. And also in Canada, the general practitioner in Canada deals with this a bit more than the GP in the UK would do, because in Canada, you have to do your own contact tracing. So a patient comes to you with an STI, the government will let you know there's an STI with patient X or patient A, and then your job is to bring them in and go through all the sexual history and then try and find out who the contacts are, treat them or refer them on to their GPs for treatment. So a bit heavier work for us in Canada, which I do not appreciate, to be honest, because I just think, coming from my UK hat, I wouldn't be dealing with all this in the UK. I would just be treating and sending them off to sexual health, who would then handle that. But in Canada, it works slightly different, so it's a bit more work for the GP. So I'm going to take it upon myself to give myself less work and less work for my colleagues by educating. I need to educate you guys on this because sexual health infections are more common in the under 25s, and sometimes it's asymptomatic, so you don't even know that you have an infection, right? And then if you don't know you have an infection, then you have an infection, it doesn't get treated, you pass it on to J blogs, passed on to Janet blogs, and passed on to whoever, and then the infection keeps spreading, and we don't come in, no contact tracing is done, so we don't know who slept with who and who did what with who, and so we don't really get to sort of close up that circle of infection, that and trace all the parties to that particular encounter, and the infection keeps on spreading. So years down the line, when you're trying to have a baby and then some things are not working and you do infection, start getting all the investigations, which I mentioned in my previous video, it turns out that, hey ho, actually, when you were 25 or 22 or whatever it was, there was an infection, wasn't treated, and now it's caused you problems further down the line. So this video is particularly pertinent to those people who are young. And so if you have any young persons in your life, please share this video with them, because I think they will learn a lot, because young people tend not to know things like, that are health related. They tend to be more interested in other, kind of videos. So they're not watching this kind of video, particularly. So we need to educate and inform them, because they are the ones who are most risk, and they are the ones who can pass it on, because young people also, from what I'm seeing and from what we watch on TV, it seems that people are, having intercourse with just anybody they meet. They may just meet someone and have intercourse with them. People are not necessarily using protection like condoms, and so the infections are sort of spreading around. And people are also engaging in multiple partners. So I just like this person, I go and sleep with that person without taking recourse to the fact that there might be repercussions from the action. And then this is now becoming like a cycle. And then I'm tired of this person. After 3 months, I'm going to get a new person. So, they always say in UK during Christmas time, a dog is for life, not for Christmas. Can I also add that sexual activity should be with one partner for life and not just for Christmas or for holidays or for, whatever it says. So try, the take-home message is abstinence will prevent you from getting the infection, because it says sexually transmitted. So without sex, you're not going to get it. And if you're not going to be abstinent, then you use a condom to protect. And if you're not going to use a condom, at least keep to one person. So at least it makes everyone's life easier. You know who you slept with. It's an infection. The parties can be treated. The doctor has less paperwork to fill, and everyone's happy. So I know that's the summary of this video. So if you're a long person, you're tired of me hearing my voice now, you can go away. But if you want to learn more, I'm just going to give you some statistics from the WHO, which I found online. So you can also find it online, is the point I'm making. So this is from the article 22nd of August 2022, and it gives us key facts and some summaries. I'm just going to read that out to you. So it says here, more than 1 million sexually transmitted infections, or STIs, are acquired every day worldwide. The majority are asymptomatic. So what I was saying to you earlier, people are getting infection and they don't even know. That is the fallacy in this whole thing. The second point from the WHO's website is that each year, so we talk about every day, now this is now each year, they have an estimate of 374 million new infections, with one of 4 curable STIs. So 374 million new infections with one of the 4 curable STIs. So the curable ones are chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, and trichomonas, which is a protozoa. And the next point is that more than 500 million between the age group of 15 to 49, so slightly wider range, not just the young people now, get genital herpes. Now, genital herpes is a really bad one. I know more patients that have it, they just burst into tears and they cry because they've heard, and quite rightly so, that it is something that you have for life. You don't really get rid of it. Unfortunately, it stays dormant in the nerve roots, only to resurface again in times of stress, and you can pass it on to a new partner. So it's one of the ones you really don't want to get because it doesn't really ever go away from you. And then human papillomavirus. The human papillomavirus is HPV, and that HPV, you probably have heard about that. It's the one that causes cervical cancer, because there are many kinds of HPV virus, but there's particular strains that cause cervical cancer. And it says here that there are over 311,000 cervical cancer deaths each year. So 311,000 cervical cancer deaths. Now, not everybody with cervical cancer is going to die from this. So this is obviously the women who got cervical cancer and didn't get treated, and it went on to spread, and it has now caused death. So the 311,000 that they're mentioning here is the HPV that caused the death. But I would say that obviously, since I know patients who have cervical cancer who haven't died, then there are more people who are getting cervical cancer than the 311,000. So basically, that number is just the death. So it is still quite high numbers. And then this one might actually interest you. It says almost 1 million pregnant women were estimated to be infected with syphilis in 2016. And this caused 350,000 adverse birth outcomes. So what that is saying is that pregnant women, so the woman got pregnant, got syphilis, unfortunately, this is 2016 data, and 350,000 adverse birth outcomes. So that means prematurity, stillbirth of the baby, so baby being born dead, or other infections or other outcomes which you didn't really want to have for a new birth happened with syphilis infection. That's why when you have prenatal testing or antenatal, as we say in the UK, we always check the pregnant woman for syphilis, and we try and treat them and see if they have any immunity to this, because it can affect the outcome of the pregnancy adversely, so not in a good way. And then just this, their summary is this, and there's 2 more points. It says that the sexual infections have a direct impact on sexual and reproductive health. One, it causes stigmatization, infertility, as I said in my previous video, cancers, as I've said already, and pregnancy complications. And also, it increases the risk of HIV. Now, HIV, you might know, is the human immunodeficiency virus. And HIV used to be a death sentence, certainly when I was in medical school. But, time has moved on. We have medication for the HIV patient. They've gone on to live lives. They're living longer lives. But they have to do that on medication. So, obviously, it's a burden of health. It's a burden for the individuals themselves. It's a burden on the health services who have to provide the medication and look after the patients, and it affects their relationship with their partners. So STI is basically something you do not really want for Christmas or for any time of the year, to be honest. And the other bad thing you need to know about it is that drug resistance is a major threat to reducing the burden of STIs worldwide. So what that means is that because STIs are getting, the bacteria and the protozoa and the viruses causing the STIs want to proliferate, they want to survive. So they're getting stronger, more resistant to the drugs that we have to cure them. So what's happening now is that whereas before you might just give penicillin and then you get rid of syphilis, or you give some infections to get rid of the other, doxycycline, for example, for get rid of chlamydia. Sometimes you have some strains that do not go away with the standard treatment, and that gets more difficult to treat. And so all these complications I've mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video, and I've mentioned from the WHO key facts, become more of an issue. So basically, I always just like to make things simple. Prevention is better than cure. Abstinence is key. If you're not going to abstain, please use a condom. If you're not going to use a condom, try and limit your sexual partners. Don't just fall into bed with whoever. Hollywood makes it look like it's easy. We are dealing with the effects. It is not. And again, this is now, because this video will not be complete without speaking to young people, particularly because this third fact here says people from 15 to 49 years. I just wonder, what is a 15-year-old doing having intercourse? 15, you should be focusing on your studies or trade or whatever it is. So do not start so young having intercourse. that's putting yourself at risk of infections for the future. And the reason I say that is because I know that many young people feel what's the word, pressurized. That's it. Because when I have my young ladies coming to see me for their checkups or what have you, I have quite a number of young female patients who I look after. And when I say to them abstinence, and their mothers go and the young women say, I wish somebody told me that. So I am telling you that you have my permission to be abstinent, because you don't have to be doing what J Blogs and Joe Blogs is doing. You have to be yourself, right? So do not forget that abstinence is a form of contraception. Abstinence is also a form of avoiding getting infected. Not everybody is sexually active, I can tell you for free, because I take the history. I'm the doctor. People are honest with the doctor. Not everybody's doing it, so do not feel obliged to be doing it. And please don't forget to encourage your colleagues or your friends or your young ones or your youth group or whatever it is with this video. Let young people know, because they're the ones who are most at risk. We don't want, years down the line, people saying, had I known, had I known. And so I'm just going to keep it short and simple. I'm signing out now, but this is Dr. Noni. Please like, share, subscribe, and be abstinent and be safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That I've gotta make a change. I don't care if I break, at least I'll be feeling something. Just okay, it's not enough. Help me fight through another